I suppose I really should have spent more time researching before pulling the engine out. Ultimately, I've pulled it out for no good reason. Good morning, YouTube and the internets. Last thing I did, I think, was stuff on the head. Well, I've got to start checking major components. I'm pretty convinced that the variable valve timing helixical gears, which I've done more research on in here, were probably the cause of that knock. It's a common symptom to have a knock caused by that sounds like a bearing. I suppose I really should have spent more time researching before pulling the engine out. Ultimately, I've pulled it out for no good reason. Having done a leak down or compression test still would have been inconclusive. Everything was inconclusive. So it is done now, and it may be a reason to build a more badass motor. It may not be. I've just got to do some research and decide exactly what I'm going to do and what I want to do. What do you think I should do? Should I build, well, that's probably going to look terrible under that line. Should I just put together a stock motor, making about the 440 horsepower mark that I did before? Or should I put forges in it and push for 550 rear wheel horsepower? Which I think the setup would be topping out the turbo. It'd be running out of air at that point. Tell me in the comments. I'm going to do nothing over there at all. I'm going to start measuring. I'm going to measure the mains and the rods, the big ends, and check that they're in spec. Measure the journals on the crank, check that they're in spec, and see what sort of clearances we've got. Really, there is a bit of wearing in here. There's not a lot, but the rule is, if you can feel it with your nail, it needs replacing, and I can feel it with my nail on the number 3 here. Definitely here. Just had a bit of something going through it there. This one here, not so much, and same with that. But you know, there's nothing catastrophic in there. There's nothing causing a knock, I can tell you that. So now I have to partially reassemble this. I just have to put the girdle back in, and I can measure then the mains diameters. Check the crank journals for the mains and the rods, and then measure the rods. Let's see where we're at with that stuff. That will finally determine that there wasn't enough play to make that knock noise, or there was. I don't think there was. And then that'll tell me how healthy this crank is, and whether or not I need to crank out of that one or that one. And it'll start pointing me in the direction of what I'm going to do next. Considering if I do the big horsepower build, building it out of these two, and those two heads there, and just reassembling this with just new bearings, and selling it possibly as a stocky while I build that engine at the same time, or build this one first and then do that to get rid of it, or build that one first because the parts will be quicker. I don't know, I haven't decided. Decisions are to be made yet. I've got enough engines here to make 2. I think the pistons are no good in that. This block has got severe scoring in the bores, very severe scoring. It was not assembled correctly and it destroyed itself within seconds of being started up the first time. That head's got, the blue head has got impact marks on the underside of it, where there was a rivet sitting in one of the pistons, in one of the bores. The grey head is fine, nothing wrong with it. The blue head's had some porting work, I think, done. Grey head's completely stock. That head is completely stock in theory. Everything is stock pretty much except for that blue head, which is, if it has had anything done, it's very mild. That's about it. So I'm going to go shopping for some stuff first, consolidate all the parts I pulled off, put that head down there so I've got clear workbench area, and then I'm going to reassemble this partially, measure, then I'll know where I'm at and what I'm going to do. And then after that, I suppose I've got to figure out what parts I'm using, clean them up, and figure out what I need to buy to make whatever engine I'm going to make, or engines, whichever the case may be.